All righty. Hopefully everybody can see me all right and hear me all right. All right. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahavah's sight. He is our strength and our redeemer, and it is in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect tonight's message. Aman. Shalom, family. Peace, peace, peace. Thank you for being with us one more again. Hopefully all is well. How you doing, Sister Monique? How you doing, we give our honor and praise to the Most High. Yahavah Elohim. We give our praise and honor to him for my wife, the Honorable Alma, who lives a life that's able to be honored. As always, you can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. To the moderators, ministerial staff, secretary, lottie-die, everybody. If it's first time, one time of many, listen to us, whatever the case might be. Thank you for joining us. How you doing, Big Brother Thomas, Sister Iska, Tony, Gary, D, everybody? Appreciate, love y'all. Thank you for being on. Mic check 1 2. Can everybody hear? See me all right? Not sure about YouTube, TikTok. Can you guys see and hear me all right? How you doing, Sister Iska, Sister Mignon? Thank y'all for the love. Can everybody hear me? See me all right? Yes, no, maybe so. How you doing, Unique? Shalom, shalom. Can everybody see me and hear me? Mic check 1 2. All righty, praise y'all. All right. Cool. So, how you doing, Brother TJ? Alrighty. So tonight we're going to jump right into it. We got our meeting at the top of the hour. Should have got a Google Calendar invite. If you didn't, or if you don't get a link or something like that, just let me know. But we're going to go ahead and jump right in to tonight's lesson. Praise Yahavah for you all and to you all. Thank you for joining us again as we continue to get into the Word of Yah. We'll say our Bible pledge real quick. If you can just put your right hand in the air and just repeat after me, or your Bible device, and just repeat after me. It goes as follows. This is my Bible. This is my sword. And this will I trust. For Yahushua is Lord. No sword of God shall ever be heard. For this is my Bible. And this is Yah's word. Acham Yahavah. Aman. Aman. You may be seated to go back to what you're doing in the presence of the Most High Yah. Tonight, we are going to focus, or tonight's motif, if you will be the science of eternity. Yes, there is science to back up such a thing. The science of eternity. Shalom, how you doing, Sister Snet? Everybody for coming on all platforms. Thank you again for being on with us. Tonight, we're going to talk about the science of eternity. Is it scientific that such a thing as far as eternity can exist? How you doing, Sister Knight? Now, we've talked about this a little bit here or there, but we're going to devote a whole live session to it. Once again, we're talking about the science of eternity. If somebody comes to you and says, well, eternity is a concept, or eternity, time, just blah, blah, whatever. But is it possible that there can be a being, you and I included, right, that can move in and out of eternity? You said TikTok keeps kicking you off? Okay. I don't know. Do we have a bad signal on TikTok? I'll try and change it. Hold on 1 second. Supposedly I have enough signal. We'll see what happens. Right. Supposedly I have enough signal without the Wi-Fi, so prayerfully we'll have enough where you guys can see and hear us, okay? But once again, we're going to talk about the science of eternity. You were struggling with TikTok? Okay. Well, if it starts acting up again, I took it off the Wi-Fi. If it acts up, let me know so I can switch it back. But so tonight we're going to talk about the science of eternity. Is it in fact scientific? Is it scientific to say that eternity? Is there proof or evidence in what we talk about as far as eternity? How you doing, Minister Jenny? Right? Is there proof? Is there evidence that eternity, right, is a thing that has credence to it, scientifically speaking, right? So in order to answer this, we have to look at time, and we have to be willing to look at time as something that is looked at the wrong way by many of us, including when we were taught in school, because time is in fact relative, right? If you're taking notes, make sure that you take note of that, because time is depends on where you are, right? So depending on where you are, relatively speaking, time speeds up or slows down. How you doing, Sister Beck? Now, if somebody doesn't believe this and somebody says that's not scientific, well, here's something that if you say you want to go with NASA, the deceiver, etc., here's something that we can go ahead and lay out for you that even they would tell you. right? If we believe that there's a space station and we believe that it's outside of the earth, the further you get away from the earth, the space station has to adjust for time. How you doing, Monster? So a lot of you have this mindset that it's just the signal, which is true. The signal is hard to get to. The further you are from something, the more signal it takes. The closer you are to something, the less signal it might take, right? How you doing, double OG, triple OG? How you doing, Monster? How you doing, Sister Michelle? Right? But time is relative, so much so that when they go to the space station, they will admit to you that in order to go to the space station, they have to change time. So if you're on the space station, if it's noon New York time where you are, the person in the space station has to adjust, but they have to realize that time, right, moves at a different pace in space than it does where you are. Right? It's not as simple as, oh, we just call everything time signatures, right? Or we say you're in the time zone. Rather, I'm thinking about music, time zone. So we might say, oh, well, in the United States of America, there's 4 agreed upon time zones. There's Eastern, there's Central, right? If we go further west, there's Eastern, there's Central, there's Mountain, and there's Pacific. And then depending on where you are, they may or may not change the time, etc. Right? But when you go into space, or what we might even call the heavens, how you doing, Sister Dawn? Time changes. So time is relative. Matter of fact, how you doing, Sister Brea? As a matter of fact, the Bible discusses the creation of time. The earth was actually created before time in your Bible. Right? If we were to go and look at that, the earth actually, and we'll be dealing with this when we start our Genesis series tomorrow, but before there was a such thing as time, the earth existed. If you don't believe me, right? Barashat, Barashat bara Elacham Achamayam Arat. So in beginning, Elacham created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void. It had no form and it was void. It was empty, right? Or something empty like. It had no form and it was as if you can go through it. We would call that a gas. And we know that that by the end of the first day, liquid has happened. There's some liquefying. And the top of the waters has had Holy Spirit order introduced, right? And then when we keep on going in day number 2, or Yom Bet, it says that the waters separated from each other and there was a solid, gas, liquid, solid up top. And on day number 3, there's a solid that comes out from under the waters, right? We call it volcanic eruptions, right? They cause lava to go ahead, cool down, and eventually it builds on top of each other to where you get this thing that we call Earth. Right. As a matter of fact, the islands that are still forming, the newer the island, the more volcanic ash we see on the ground. We'll see black earth or really volcanic, dirt, if you will, that's still forming. How you doing, Bruder Charlie? How you doing, Sister Alyssa? Everybody coming on all platforms. Thank you so much. So we can see this happening, right? So this is happening in the Word, but there's still no such thing as time. Time is relative. So when you hear these things called the day, the first day, the second day, the third day this happened, you have to realize that day in Hebrew even means yam, or it is a period of time. How you doing, Brother Kofi? So each period of time, but the problem is, or a period. The problem is, though, time has not been introduced, where seasons are a way of keeping up with time. We just know there was a period this happened in, a period this happened in, the period this happened in. But when you get to day 4, all of a sudden it says the sun, the moon, and the stars are created. And it tells you that the sun, the moon, and the stars are created to do what? To tell us seasons, to keep time. Right? And so time exists in eternity, but eternity exists before time. Time even exists in the earth, right? However, the earth itself existed before time. So time, the earth does not necessarily change in time. The earth functions. Now, the earth is not what it used to be because of sin entering in, right? And therefore, there are things that happen to the earth that should never have happened. How you doing, Darius? And how you doing, Sister Tia? How you doing, Auntie Mary? So time exists after the earth is created. Matter of fact, if you go deeper, death is created before, or death is created before sin, right? But it has no power until we sin. Once we sin, now you are dead. How do we know this? On the day that you eat of that fruit, Adam at Ayazar, on the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. So death exists, but it has no power in time until somebody sins, separating us from eternity. Once we are separated from eternity, then time now has more of a hold over you, because now your body is not a glorified body, but it is one where death has entered into it due to sin. And because of that, now a body that was supposed to be created to live forever can only live within a certain time, so that you can therefore be given with the hope that you'll be faithful, be given a glorified body, so that you can not just worry about, so that you will stop thinking about time as far as anything other than something to literally tell time and tell where you are in eternity. How you doing, MIT Raj? Does that make sense? I know I just said a mouthful. Right? Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions? I need to run that back again. How you doing, MIT LaCrystal? Thank you for the love. Right? Does that make sense? See, so time exists after the earth is created. Okay. How you doing, Black Rose? Time exists after the creation of the earth, right? Death exists after time, or death has no power, but it's not even created until after time. And death is there to separate you from a body that now cannot exist in eternity and is only bound in time. Okay. So time exists in eternity. What's happened though is that because of sin, our focus has become time more so than eternity. All right. Okay. So now that we got that together, is it possible that something moves faster than time, or it moves so fast in time that it actually has the ability to go ahead of time? And is it possible that something can move slower than time? And if it is possible, what is the thing that pauses time? Right? Let's look at this in this manner. You guys have learned in school and all this stuff, but just to make sure we're on the same page. If time stands still, what would we call that? What is it that if you're going at this speed, supposedly you and everything around you will stay still? You said you don't think it's possible. Well, we're going to look at that, right? The science of eternity, right? Is there anything that if is there something that we know that if you go and you're going and going and going and going, everything stops? That's right. Thank you. The speed of light, right? If we look at it scientifically, how you doing, Ebony? If we look at it scientifically, supposedly, the faster you move, the faster you're getting to the speed of light. And if you get close enough to the speed of light, everything seems to slow down. If you were to get at the speed of light, according to different theories, especially Einstein's theory, if you were to get close to the speed of light, right, the theory of relativity, right, time is relative, then, or once I hit it, everything pauses, including me. If I move at the speed of light, then it means that basically I pause, or at least relative to you, it looks like I'm standing still. So if you were able to see me at the speed of light, you would only really be able to see me. Matter of fact, for those of you who are big anime fans, they do this quite often in anime, right? They kind of sort of do it with Dragon Ball Z, but they do it quite often in anime. If you've ever seen a big fight scene and you see like characters are moving back and forth and they're fighting and fighting, but you keep seeing them like they disappear, they come back, they disappear, they come back, they disappear. You know they're fighting, but they come back. What they're trying to insinuate is that you're seeing time pause, right? Where basically you just see them in this moment frozen. That's how they appear to you, but then they start moving. They're moving faster than the speed of time. Now somebody says, but that's a television show. How you doing, brother Aaron? Right? And I get that, right? That's a television show. That's a cartoon. We can't base anything scientific off that. Well, let me go to another television show. This will make you even more frustrated, but let me go to an old school television show. I don't know if I got any Trekkies on here, but there's something in Star Trek that's introduced a while ago that's actually based off of scientific theory, right? The television show is called Star Trek. And in the television show, how you doing, Brother Lamar? In this television show called Star Trek, there's something that many of us were introduced to, even if you didn't think about it, called tachyon particles. Now, tachyon particles are part of a theory, right? And tachyon particles are supposed to be able to move faster than the speed of light. So there's a theory that goes like this. Let's say many of us, or all of us, look at time from this end only. We have to speed up to get to the speed of light. However, is it possible that there could be a being or anything created, by the way, that could actually start on the other side? They are extremely fast and are slowing down to the speed of light. Both of us trying to reach the speed of light, or this pause or this moment where everything stands still, right? And somebody in the future is trying to figure out how to get this way. Somebody in the past is trying to figure out how to get this way. Or somebody faster than the speed of light is trying to slow down to the pause. Somebody slower than the speed of light is trying to speed up to it. Okay, right? So if we have this thing that moves faster, and we know there are different particles, we know there are things that move faster than the speed of light. If you don't believe so, look up something like neutrinos. If you're not aware of what a neutrino is a theory based off of a theory that you know more of called a neutron. Neutrons, nobody has physical evidence of a neutron, but there's a theory. The theory basically goes like this. We were trying to do things with the atomic bomb, right? Or trying to do things with splitting atoms. The theory that was there scientifically said, well, mass always has to turn into energy, right? Or energy has to always turn into mass, but it doesn't just disappear. Problem was with this was though is as persons were beginning to get rid of protons and eliminate them and have them explode, and get rid of electrons and have them explode, right? There was no such thing as a neutron at this point. They started saying, well, what's happening? Because when we have the proton explode, we can't find any energy. The mass is gone, but there's no energy. When we had the electron explode, the mass goes away, but there is no energy. So there were some young men who were Italians and kept on in the scientific community in secret afterwards. But long story short, they came up with a theory where they said, well, what if they go to a neutral space? How you doing, Brother Omar? Right? So what if they go to a neutral space? What if it's not that they're disappearing, but that the positive, the proton, when it explodes, it goes to a place that's neutral. And the electron, when it explodes, it goes to a place that's neutral. We have no evidence of it, and nobody was ever able to prove this, but you're still taught about this in school. Protons, electrons, and neutrons, although neutrons are theoretic. The scientific community has faith that this stuff that we can't explain, because energy is always supposed to turn to mass, mass is always supposed to turn to energy. Well, maybe there's this place called neutrons. Right? How you doing, Sister Taylor? I remember. All right. So this is what's supposedly supposed to happen, right? Problem with this is that there's no such thing as neutrons. That being said, they were trying their best. They came up with neutrinos. Well, maybe there's no neutrons, or maybe neutrons come from this thing called neutrinos. Neutrinos, supposedly, we can't find them because what if they move at the speed of light? So to us, they seem like they're frozen, but they were also moving so fast, so we can't really see, can't really tell. Technology comes out to where they're actually able to have certain particles move at the speed of light. You said, wouldn't it need something to stop it? Is something even time? Yeah, right. So the neutrinos, they say, okay, they come up with this huge machine that still exists. It's in Japan. It's basically a huge thing, stories full, going down even deep into the waters. And it's filled with water and clean water. They have to make sure the water stays clean. Nothing can be in it. It can't get dirty, whatever. They just use straight up water. And what they do, supposedly, is they take a signal that goes from one place in the earth and shoot straight through into the water, right? So it shoots straight through, it gains speed, it goes at the speed of light, right? And it changes. So they said this is neutrinos. Neutrinos are supposed to be at the speed of light. That means when it hits the water, we'll be able to prove that this thing goes at the speed of light, because when it hits the water, it'll be going so fast. Eventually, it will slow down, but the shape of it the first few times will be still, right? So when it first hits the water, it'll take time. So let's say there's 5 different pictures they're looking at. The first 3 pictures or so, they should stay still. The last 2, we should see a change in it, because now it's hit the water, so it changes shape, because it's actually hitting something that causes it to go slower than the speed of light. If it goes slower than the speed of light, we've got it. That's what they said. Problem happens, though, is that they do the experiment, right? And they say, okay, and they shoot it. And every time they shoot it, problem is that what they're finding is not a neutrino, first of all. Secondly, they actually find out that, wait a minute, when it hits the water, it's moving every time, meaning that whatever this is, it actually doesn't slow down, right, from the speed of light. It actually means it has to slow down from something faster than the speed of light, meaning that we actually have evidence that something moves faster than the speed of light. Okay. I know I'm being extra sciencey and all that stuff, but prayerfully is making sense because now we're going to go a little deeper. Okay. So there's something that in we would call in our community a glorified body. The scientific community, you might call this a theory. Do with it what you will. But it's something that we would call a glorified body. This glorified body is supposed to be eternal. Time does not affect it. And the only reason we don't have the glorified body is because of sin. Remember, we started off by saying the earth was created before time, right? Death was created after time, only as escape so that your body wouldn't be stuck in eternity in a situation to where it would never be holy again. And if we are righteous, we get a glorified body, meaning we go back to something that existed before we were encapsulated by time. So if you have a glorified body, for example, could it be possible that Yeshua, right, would be able to talk to the disciples after he's resurrected, talk to two of them on the road, and then when they look for him, they can't find him because he could move faster than time? Is it possible that you could have three angels show up to Abraham and they move different than everybody else? Could it be possible that three Hebrew boys could be thrown into a fire and an angel could pop up in the midst of all the stuff that's going on? An angel could actually show up and be able to do some things and maneuver things because that angel can move faster than the speed of light. Could it be possible that the one who created time, right, moves faster than what he created? How you doing, Dr. T? Right? Because if a glorified body can move faster, we already have said scientifically that we know that there are things that move faster than time. And we know there's a theory that says, well, what if, like, we're trying to get to the speed of light, something else is on the other side? Now, if this is a glorified body, this glorified body doesn't experience death, right? Sorry for the noise. Hopefully you can still hear me, right? How you doing, Sister Sarah? Blessings, right? Could it be possible that somebody who created time and has never sinned is able to move not in and out of time, even though they exist outside of it, they're bigger than it, but if they decide to go in time, if there's particles that have been created that move faster and slower than the speed of light, could it be possible that there's a being that moves faster and slower than the speed of light? So much so that they can show up, right, everywhere. So much so that they can show up today, tomorrow, and yesterday to you at the same time, even though they can speed up, never die, right? Now, here's the deal. This is a body that can never die. Thank you for the love. How you doing? Remember me, right? This is a glorified body. This body is not, right? This is a body that exists before time. This is a being that created time simply for you to know where you are in eternity, but never created time for you to be bound inside of it. All right. So scientifically speaking, if one can move faster than the speed of light, it means that that they get to a place to where everything begins to slow down, right? And the faster this being gets, that means the slower things are. Matter of fact, not only do things pause, right, but things can almost be a blur. But also, if this being can go backwards past the speed of light and keep getting slower and slower and slower in time, it means they can get to a place to where everything is, well, I said everything's speeding up. I just said it wrong. If something's faster than the speed of light, everything slows down, but then it gets to a point where almost yeah, I said it right. It's like a blur, but at the same time, it becomes almost like a blur on the opposite end. So if you have a body, I hope this is making sense, right? That's why I went through all the rigmarole and everything in the beginning. If I have a body, right? If Yah has a body, if Yahashua has a body, if Holy Spirit has a body or has a way of going, right? If Yahashua has a glorified body, there is the possibility that he can move, not just in and out of time, but when he's in time, he can decide how fast or slow he wants to go. And the slower he gets, the further back he goes. The faster he gets, the further he goes, which means, and once again, he can literally show up at the speed of light. An angel literally can show up at the speed of light, be there, look as if it's not even moving, or be something to where you are not even moving, and be able to take of everything. You can pray, right? And not even realize that at the end of your 30-second prayer, in time, your past, present, and future can be shifted by the angel that Yah sends on your behalf. right? Because time is what? What do we start off with? Time is relative, right? So I'm going to say something. Now, this isn't too sciencey. This is more spiritual, if you will. But I'm going to say something a little different than what we might say it. So time is relative, meaning I got to ask the question, how do you relate to time? Am I bound by time? How do you relate to time? You said, is that why the angels in the Bible immediately disappear after the list? Well, it could be, right? But we know that they are beings that are not bound by time, right? You said you think you're timeless. Okay, I can see that. I like that, right? So how do you relate to time? You hear me? You hear me, beloved? How does one relate to time? How you doing, Felicia? Time is relative. So when I pray, the Bible even says this. It talks about a situation where there was somebody who prayed, and it says that Yah had released the blessing for them, right? But it had to go through a fight. There were spiritual things that had to ensue, right? And so even though the person's like, man, this is taking a while, the blessing had to be released so that when you needed it, it would show up. You got to think about how it relates in time, because when you get the science of time together, you'll stop thinking like this. Many of you think, oh man, I wish this would get here. It'd be really nice if y'all would speed up. It would be excellent if I were going to get my blessing. Matter of fact, I've been praying for this for years, not realizing that there's already an angel dispatch that is changing everything in your past, present, and future, so that when you get to a place in time, eternally, something has already taken place, because there is somebody who's not bound in minute by minute, second by second, right? Like, you have to even think a lot of the ways you even look at time is because somebody's changed it. You don't believe so? There used to only be considered to be what we call hours. There used to be considered 12 hours in a day. There were 120 minutes per hour. You might not have known that. You switched to 24 hours when imperial time said we're going to go to Babylonian ways of looking at time, and we're going to say that there's 60 minutes per period of time. But the reality is that persons used to say, if I'm going to meet you at 2, right? That's why you have a 2 a.m. and 2 p.m. They used to be together. If I'm going to meet you in the second hour means that I'm going to meet you in a 120 minute, interval. But in our mind today, what? Because somebody else has governed you by time, they told you time is 60 minutes per hour, right? So you've literally had somebody even change your idea of time, right? Your idea of what a moment is, even a day. Remember, in Hebrew culture, a day can be, sure, when the sun comes up, it comes down, but it means a period of time. So when it says, this is the day that Yahavah has made, I will rejoice and be glad in it. What time are we talking about? How you doing, Alilu? See, should I be excited about this is the day? He's given me 50 years. He's given me 100 years. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Okay. In this second, Yah is moving. I will rejoice and be glad in it. He's given me something called eternity. In eternity, my goal is to rejoice and be glad in it. Exactly, right? Time is relative. Are we relating to time or looking at time through the vision of Yah? Is it his time? We used to say, right? We used to be churchy with it. We used to say, he may not come when you want him, or he may not come when you call him, but he's always on time. But the reality is that time is simply telling you where he is in eternity. So if I'm looking for him to show up in my time, I don't relate to his time, right? If I'm looking for him to show up, right, he might be speeding up to be able to do some things 20 years down the road that he can come back to me today and start me on a journey. This is why the Bible even says that Yah finishes things first, and then he comes back to the start. Meaning that he goes in time and declares, right, in eternity, really, but he goes in time, speeds up as a tachyon particle does, goes faster than the speed of light, and says, okay, this is where you're going to go. And then he goes back slower than the speed of light and goes way back past you and says, now let me start putting together these things. And if somebody would simply, because you are in somebody else's time, but if you would trust him, he says, in eternity, I've already made this thing to where what you are thinking about in time is all just working together for what is tabah, for those who love Elohim and are called according to his purpose. Right? You see what I'm saying? Well, a lot of persons are stuck in the 60s because they don't have a mindset to get out as far as time, even in trolling. You got to be better, right? But regardless of that, you got to realize that you're stuck in a position to where you keep thinking everything's going to happen in your time, right? And it's not your time. Matter of fact, if all you're worried about is time, now I'm not saying don't be a steward of time, right? Because some persons take this too far, where they don't take care of what the time that they've been given. That being said, right, time is relative. Man, they're going to take my home tomorrow. I don't have enough time. Well, what's happening in the time? I've been there, done that. Living out of a car, single father, trying to take care of 3 children, you know, end up homeless in the street, ended up in prison before, end up doing all these different things or whatever, right? But in all those things, I started realizing, you know what, Yah still moving. He didn't stop just because I don't know what's going to happen the next minute. He knows what's going to happen. So if I just keep doing what he tells me to do, ultimately, I'm going to get to a time, which is once again is an indication of where I am in eternity. I'm going to get to what he has for me eternally. So when you start getting to that place, you stop worrying about time, right? When you start realizing that he can speed things up and slow things down, he moves faster than time. You'll start looking for what he's telling you because that's something that connects you to eternity. Hear me, beloved, and I got to finish this because we got to get ready for our meeting. But hear me, beloved, right? Stop putting so much stock into time, so much so that many of you are missing what he's doing right now in time. Every second that you're saying it's not going to work is a second that every second you keep trying to say it's not going to work is a second that he's working it out for Tabah, for what's constitutional, for what's promised. And he doesn't overpromise, he promises, and he never underdelivers. And whatever he says, whatever he starts, he shall perform it. And so some of you are spending too much time being stressed out, right? You have a chance to not spend time stressed out because eternal joy is where we at. And so if I have eternal joy, right, well, how am I allowing stress? Right? I'm not saying stress isn't real. I'm not saying anxiety isn't real, but what I'm saying is we allow things when we come outside. And really, it's, watch this. What can take me out of eternity real quick? What did we say earlier? The earth existed before time. Time existed before death, but death had no power until we sinned. And when we sin, guess what? Right? Coveting is a sin. Now, why is it that you want something that doesn't belong to you? Because stress is not for you. Can I say that again? You know, stress is not for you. Give no thought for the morrow. We love, what is it? Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. Seek ye first the kingdom of Elohim and all his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto thee. But then the next verse, person just skip over that. And give no thought for the morrow or tomorrow, for the morrow shall take care of the things concerning itself, even to the evil thereof. Tomorrow, Yah has already been there and done that and taken care of everything so that whatever evil is there, he will still be sufficient. What he has will still suffice. You won't have to suffer through tomorrow, right? Because, well, you might have to suffer meaning choice, but you get what I'm saying. Some of you are so busy suffering in negative ways, right? You've already decided in today that you will suffer tomorrow. Give no thought for tomorrow, right? Not concerning, don't plan, don't have a vision, but don't be sitting there so much that you're so worried about it. What's the context of it? Birds have nests to be in, right? And lilies are more beautiful than Solomon was in all his apparel, right? And Yah takes care of the grass that you're going to cut tomorrow and burn and get rid of. But for some reason, you think that you don't realize he'll take care of grass that you're going to cut. And he says he wants you to live for eternity. And for some reason, we don't believe that he has already made up his mind in time, in eternity, that you're going to be straight. As a matter of fact, once again, if you look at what we just talked about, death is something to separate you from a sinful body so that you can have a glorified body, that your soul and your spirit might reside in eternity with him forever without end. So even when it comes to where it's time for if Yahavah doesn't come back before then, even if my time is up on this earth, I'm still rejoicing, because all it is time for me to be able to go to the next level. Right? All it is it's time for me to walk into the house of my Father, to join up with my spiritual husband, Yahavah, that I might enter in. How you doing, babe? My wife is on the Honorable Alma. Always check her out on TikTok, YouTube, website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Thanks for being on, babe. Love you very much. Time. So you don't have time to worry about time. Yahavah says it like this: which one of you can add a cubit to his stature? Which one of you can make themselves larger or bigger? Which one of you can continue to improve and be what Yah wants? By stressing out. Has it helped you? Has being stressed helped you? I'm not trying to be like Brother Kanye, but look, man, stress a lot of times is a choice, at least to stay in it. Which one of you, by stressing, which one of you, look, okay, you're asking Yah for a job. He wants to do exceeding abundantly above you all you could ever ask or think. He says, roll with me and I got you. Which one of you, by worrying about employment, will get employment sooner? Now, I'm not saying you can't do any works, faith without works, but which one of you, right? See, because watch this. You know what one of the biggest enemies of works is? One of the biggest enemies of works is stressing out about what you have faith in, supposedly. Faith without works has no life. So one of the biggest enemies of working something is that you have already made up in your mind it's not going to happen, or you can't see it in time. But if you have faith in what Yah says, work as if what he said is going to happen, right? This is why you need to have a relationship with Holy Spirit. Allow her to tell you what to do, where to go, how to operate, what to eat, etc. Right? She got this thing set up for you to do what Yah already has promised. So if Yah promised that you're going to make it, right? If Yah promised you're going to have that relationship, if Yah promised you're going to have the family that you desire. Now, what happens in time is we say, well, my family's not doing it. My family not do it. What if that's not the family? What if he's not even talking about that family? He might not be talking about that family, your blood relatives. He might be saying it's a family that where the Bible describes that a brother sticks, or that a friend sticks closer than a brother. That type of familial relationship where David says, no man ever loved, or no woman ever loved me like Jonathan. He might be talking about that type of family. Like Ruth says, hey, my friendship with you and my kinship with you is one that goes beyond blood bounds. So your people are my people and your Elohim is my Elohim. He's speaking on a higher level. But we start worrying in time. I don't see it. I don't see it. Yeah, you might not see it. You see through a glass dimly. You see one side of the coin. Right? You're not able to see in eternity because you're still wrapped up in this flesh that has a lot of sin in it. And so it's difficult for you to catch up to stuff. That's why we attach to the Holy Spirit and attach to Elohim. We need to attach to somebody who's able to tell us what's going on as they're moving back and forth. And when they tell us to move, they're telling us to move according to what they are shifting in time. So stop worrying about, I don't know, is it my time? Is it my season? Did Yah say it was? If he said it was, we asked this question before. The Bible declares, he that he's begun a righteous work in you will perform it, even until Yahavah comes back. So if Yahavah has begun a work, then work as if you have faith that he's begun it. See, the only thing stopping you is you don't believe that Yah began it. If he begot the work that he's begun, then it will perform. So work as if what he's already promised is going to happen. Don't allow defeat to creep into your mind and your heart and have you caught up in a moment in time, rather than realizing that the earth that you're made of, by the way, existed before time. The only thing left to ask is, do you believe it? I guess after that, we could ask, do you receive it? Because if you do, let's stop operating in what Yah said what Yah created to only show you where you are in eternity. Let's operate in eternity. Once again, before there was time, the earth existed. And before death existed, man didn't think of his life as being something that was stuck in time. The only reason why we're stuck in time is because of sin. But to be sinless, to be blameless, to be perfect as our Father in heaven also is perfect means that when we operate in his word, we operate outside of time. This is why even death cannot separate us from the love of Elohim, because all we're getting is a glorified body, and all that means is now we have no reason to be stuck in time, but we see time as what it is, right? Like time. Watch this. I know I said that was the last thing. I just want to give an example. Those of you who have a watch or a phone, persons don't even wear watches anymore. I don't, right? Never really did. But for those of you who wear watches, you check your time. What time is it? After you check what time it is, you don't get stuck or try to figure out how to stay in the clock or stay in the watch. You check your time to see where it is in your day. Right? Kingdom sense I'm talking about today, not common sense. If you check your watch, if somebody says, what time is it? You and that person don't try to live in the watch. It's something simply that you have to wear for now, right? To ensure that you can tell what's going on at this moment in time. But you're not stuck in the second. You don't watch the clock for the rest of the day. You don't look at the phone for the rest of the day. You check what you're wearing to see where you are for the rest of your day. Time is the same thing, right? We're not trying to figure out what we need to do only in this second. We check the time, we check the day, we check this period of time to see where we are in eternity, right? We're only checking the time to see how it's going to affect our walk in eternity. I'm only checking to see what's going on with my bills to see where I'm at concerning eternity. I'm only checking. You see what I'm saying? You get it? Excuse me. I'm only checking what's going on with this body and keeping it to see how I'm going to do in eternity. I'm taking care of this flesh now, not so that it'll be something that can be worshiped later on, right? It will fade, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, right? But the soul and the spirit that are going to exist eternally, I'm taking care of them right now in time, simply so that I'll be able to continue to take care of them eternally, and they will not experience what's called the second death. For whoever that is for you. Prayerfully, that made sense. The science of eternity is what we talked about this evening. We got about 5 minutes or so, 4 minutes or so now before it's time for us to get on the meeting. So thank you so much for being on. Appreciate, love you all. We'll try to put the meeting in different social media platforms and everything real quick. And excuse me, we'll jump in on Zoom in just a little bit. It should be on your Google Calendar invites already. And if for some reason you can't find it on social media somewhere, YouTube community section, Facebook, my page, Facebook group, Facebook Servants of Christ page, WhatsApp, etc. If you don't find it somewhere and you can't get it, I guess just let me know. But we're going to try to come on. Remember, it's an important meeting as well. We want to make sure we speak on Passover, and we kind of have to make final decisions on it. Based off of this meeting tonight, we've already had a few meetings at this point. We just need to move. So love y'all. Take care. Be strong. Be courageous. Continue to do what Yah has called you to do. Once again, if you don't get the meeting or you don't get an invite or you don't get a text message, I'm going to try to do all this stuff last minute. But if you're not able to find it on social media anywhere, just let me know and we'll try to let you in the meeting. We'll let the music play for a little bit. I think I figured out what's wrong with Zoom, but they don't make it easy for you to do it yourself, but they want me to do it myself. So hopefully we'll be able to get that taken care of. But the whole meeting will probably be short just because we only got 40 minutes on Zoom before it cuts off. So I'll try to do the whole thing in about 20, 25 minutes, explain what's going on, ask a few questions, and make sure that everybody knows to contact us for whatever. So if you can join us tonight, thank you for doing so. If not, if you have some questions, they're going to have to be pretty much tomorrow. Also, too, we will be tomorrow in the Rising, starting our Genesis series. So be with us tomorrow. We're going to start with about a shot, and we're going to use the whiteboard, and we're going to go from there. Prayerfully, you guys can join us. Thank you so much. Continue to do great things. And remember, as always, fam, that you are loved, you're necessary, you are majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom. Peace. Take care.